Alright, what's up guys? What we're going to do today is we're just going to learn some basics about connecting to a MySQL database. First off, you're going to want to make sure that you actually have a database to connect to. What I'm using right now is I'm using WAMP server. It comes installed with phpMyAdmin, which is a MySQL database. Let's click this and bring up my database that we have here. This is a local server, if you didn't know so. Alright, so as you see, we have many databases here, which the one that we're going to target is login tutorial. We're not going to be doing a login tutorial today, but in the future we will be doing that. But anyways, we're going to connect to this database, and we are, if we have time, we'll display the information that's in here. Alright, so let's get started. What we're going to do, alright, this is the index page that I made. All it is it's blank. Pull up my notepad here. It is blank, as you see. Alright, so first off, if you're new to PHP, what you're going to want to know is you're going to want to know to always make your PHP tags open. It'd be nice if I could do them correctly. Open and close them. PHP, you can use variables. There's two ways that you can connect to your database. I like using variables, but you can go like this, MySQL_connect, and what you do here is you would enter in your host, your username, and your password to your database. But we actually do not have a password and a username that's defined for me. Since it's a local host, I haven't changed that. But anyways, the host, if you're using localhost, is going to be localhost. If you don't know, then you can contact your service provider and you can find out this information. The username is going to be default, which is root, and there is no password. And what we're going to do is we're going to go or die, which if there is no connection, it will kill the script and you will get an error message, which will be this one: could not connect to the database. And you're going to want to close it off with a semicolon. So now if this went correctly, then let's save that. Control S for saving it. Go back to this and we'll refresh, and we get nothing. So what that means is we did not get an error, obviously. Now if I went and let's say I put an incorrect username. Now let's refresh. Now I get an error message. Here is our custom error message that says cannot connect to the database. This is just a warning here. That's because I'm on a local server. This actually wouldn't be displayed if you're on a server that you're paying for. I don't know why I keep opening that, but let's move on. That is one way that you can do it. Another way that you can do this is you can make variables. Now let me comment some out. Variables for database entry. We're going to make db host, if I can type, equals localhost. And see, I just find this to be easier. db user equals root, db pass equals nothing, and error1. So I'll name this db error1 equals could not connect to the database. Now what we'll do is we'll do the same thing, but we're going to put the MySQL connect function inside of a variable as well, in case we need to use that connection anytime later on. So we're going to name it con equals MySQL_connect, and right here we will be able to put in our variables: db host, db user, and db pass, or die just like before, and you're going to go db error1. Now, let's see if we get anything. Nope, we get nothing, which means that we have successfully connected to our database. Now, what I can do is I can say if con, see how those variables come in handy, equals true, then we're going to execute this code right here. We will say echo, hey look, we're connected to our database. And you want to end that off with a semicolon, Control S to save, refresh, and hey look, we're connected to our database, as you see right there. Now, obviously if this wasn't true, then you wouldn't get this message. So if I put if con equals equals false, Control S, we're not going to get anything. So that means that we are successfully connected to our database. Alright, now what we can do, let's see, I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to do this. Okay, let's just do it. I'll just cut the video if it's too long. What we'll do is we'll go select db equals, this is another variable for selecting the MySQL database that you want to use, so MySQL select underscore db, and what we're going to use is, what was that database again? Login tutorial, and I keep clicking that. Login tutorial. If I can spell it, let's make sure that's it. Yep, alright, same thing. Login tutorial, or die, and we're not going to put a custom error, well we are going to put a custom error code, just not one in a variable. Too lazy at the moment. Couldn't select database. Now Control S and we will see if this worked. Yep, we get nothing, so obviously it worked. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to select the data that is from this. We're going to go query equals select star, which this means all. Select all from users where ID equals 1 semicolon. I put equals 1 simply because the ID is 1 of this. Obviously if you had 200 users in your database, you would have a variable for an ID number, but we're just doing this for tutorial purposes. We're not going to go and make 100 users and display them to you. Now we can go MySQL, let's go, what are we going to name this? We're actually not going to name it anything. MySQL query is going to be query or die. Could not find user. Control S, let's see if we did this right, I'm pretty sure. Line 16. Maybe it's because of this. No. Interesting. Let's just keep going with this one. Oh, there we go. I never ended that. See how it's important to do that? Now we get no error. So make sure you add your semicolons at the end of your lines. Actually, we're going to name this fetch. Now you can go back down, you can go MySQL, name this row. Actually, we're going to put it in a while loop. While row equals MySQL fetch assoc. What that does is it MySQL will fetch the associative array, and what that is going to be is that will be fetch or die. Could not fetch data. Actually, I'm sorry, this actually isn't going to work if I put in a die function because it's in a loop. So we're just going to do that and open curly brackets, close curly brackets. I'm going to tab over a little bit to make it nice. And what we're going to do is we're going to say row, or actually we're going to say echo row, and what we're going to echo is all of these field names, exactly what they're going to be. So if we wanted to do this, we can always say echo ID, echo row. You have to make sure that it's the exact same thing that you named it in the database. Obviously, you wouldn't want to echo anyone's password out, so we're not going to do that. Now, Control S to save. Make sure you have this closed. Control S, and actually, let's make a few line breaks here. What I'm doing here is concatenating, whatever it means. I don't even know how to say it really. But what we're doing is we're just breaking down. What this does is you put a dot in between, which okay, if you put a period right here, that means you're going to take this function that you just wrote out, and this is pretty much like a plus symbol. It's going to say echo row ID plus we're going to break down, and that's you can pretty much say that, but it's just like it's just a period. Break, and we're not going to need a break on that one. Control S, and you get all of the data that is in the database, as you see. The way that we get this is right here, the query. It says select all from users, okay, from users, which is right here. This is our table name. Select all from users where ID equals 1. The ID number equals 1. So if the ID equals 1, we're going to select all the data from this. Okay, now if I put where ID equals 2, it's not going to work. Control S to save. Not going to work. The reason why is because there is no one in the database with an ID of 2. Now what we can do is we can say insert, and here this is just entering dummy data. Obviously you would use a registration form to do this. First name, we can say let's see, story, P. Password is going to be whatever. The email is going to be story@story.com. We're going to click go. Now we have a second ID number inside of our database. So if we refresh now, you get her information, seeing that we're selecting the ID from number 2. That's pretty much it for this tutorial. There's a lot more you can do with this actually, such as login scripts and registration scripts. This can be hundreds of lines of code long if you wanted to. That's including security and everything like that. But anyways, next time we're going to do a login tutorial and maybe a registration tutorial series. So stay around, and yep, that's it. If anyone has any questions, just PM me. Later.